And we are live as John trashes his keyboard. No,
I'm not trashing my keyboard. It's a mechanical keyboard and therefore clacky.
It is clacky, that is true. But that's not the point. That's either here nor there. Hi there, good people. I hope my sound is all right. This is where Michael will tell me whether it is or not. John, can you say hi to the people too so that he can hear the difference between you and me?
Well, I did mention my keyboard, so I have been vocalising upon the stream.
Yeah, but I had
but good evening, lovely people, and welcome to the Modwayne and Annoying Guest Show.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but welcome anyway.
I own my ability to irritate, shall we say.
Fair enough, fair enough. Now, we were talking pre-stream about the beauties of the difference between archetype and stereotype.
Modwayne was, I was lost.
Yeah, maybe I didn't explain
it. Still am.
Yeah, that's what I want to say. Maybe I didn't explain it the best.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. It's not a problem. Any term, okay, any word is liable to differences in understanding and definition in music, etc. And that's just how it is. Mm-hmm. And it's not a bad thing. It's
fair enough. And for the people out there, we were talking about the difference between a stereotype and an archetype.
And answers will be marked and graded.
Answers will. I'll tell you how we got to this in a moment, because usually we start with something else. But let me give a fast...
I mean, usually.
Well, it's true. Well, yeah. If it's always, then that's usual, isn't it?
No. It's like a step up from usual.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Usual implies there is at least the possibility of deviation.
Well, I mean, there will be times when we will we will persevere in our predestined topic.
Yeah, well, I think you should at least discuss whatever it is this latest mini crisis in public order in the United States.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out what you just said, and I'm kind of lost all of this.
It's all right. I was making it up as I went along. I'm saying the topic was this crisis in public order in the USA.
Yeah.
I was a bit meandering in what I said because I was trying to phrase it as I was saying it, which is not optimal. I
noticed.
Concede.
I noticed. I seriously had one. He's talking English. I understand English.
No, the thing is, I understand all the words, just not how they're put together.
Yeah, it's like, That was funny. Anyway, so
and that's in postmodernism. If something that got mentioned earlier.
That is postmodernism. Yes, it is. Because obviously language is a social construct, and social construct only means something because we decided it meant something.
And if we want to decide it means something else, who are you to judge me?
And this is the problem I have. Well, this is the problem most people have, including yourself, let's be honest. We have with postmodernism. I mean, you can't seriously talk to these people because whatever you say is meaning what they want it to mean. And if you disagree, then...
They have undefined, unspecified axioms about the world which no one else agrees with, and then they insist on sticking to their axioms.
Yeah. And then you get stupid shit like, well, I mean... Black people can't be racist to white people because they have no power. As if that has to do anything with anything.
Well, it's also entirely false.
Yeah. Nothing to do with power.
Well, no. The point is this. Everyone has the potential to have power.
True.
And to be powerless. And we operate on multiple dimensions. If you're a baby, right, you are the epitome of helplessness.
Yeah.
And yet the emotional bond of the mother is a power the baby has over the mother.
Mm-hmm.
if you just want to look at it in a particular way. This is my point. Everything can be said to have power over everything else in a way, perhaps.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So yeah, there's plenty of things that goes all the way around, especially when you talk to a postmodernist, because well, obviously, left doesn't mean left. It means
well,
something.
I would recommend not talking to postmodernists. Just. I mean, they on the Badger stream they did this TEDx talk a little while ago from this postmodernist history professor.
A history postmodernist.
A history professor postmodernist, yeah.
Oh, right.
And to say this guy, his conception of the modern world was so at odds with that of any sane person who actually pays attention, that everything he said was based on an untrue premise. Well, if you start with an untrue premise, you are never going to end up with something good.
And I'm sorry, Michael, what's dragon, mate?
Us.
Because...
Oh, dragon.
Yeah, he posted a dragon, but the link doesn't seem to work for me, so let's see if I can tweak it about a bit.
Question.
Is it about NASA?
I have no idea what they're talking about.
Because if it's the NASA...
He posted a link.
Yeah.
Which is, yes, it looks like a rocket.
Yeah, it looks like a NASA thingy.
Yeah, NASA Live, official stream of NASA TV.
Yeah.
50 minutes and 52 seconds.
Wait a sec. Oh, bloody hell. Where did my YouTube go? Did my YouTube go? Where did my YouTube go? I'm sorry, people. I'm not sure if you still can hear me, but...
I can hear you.
Yeah, but
we're on the Hangout.
Yeah. So I need to figure out if the bloody thing is still running. And I can't see the chat, so people can type.
Well, it says Michael Keller's just counting down to the dragon thing.
All right, but okay. And this one. Nope.
And we've got a grand audience of 3, which if you're watching, I'm watching, and Ludicrous and Michael are watching. That's 1 less than are watching.
I'm not watching because for some silly reason I can't find my YouTube channel, and I assume
Hang on. Moderate. Hang on. Where's the Discord? There's my Discord. I'm just going to post that. That's the stream. Okay, so click on that if you just at least want to see the stream.
Yeah, but the stream is still running, so that is important.
Yes, it's still running. 1 less than are watching.
I'm okay. So now I need to go back to the studio. Can I do that?
Yeah.
No, it won't allow me. This is an issue because that means I can't turn the bloody thing off. I'm so happy that I fail at this.
Yeah.
I do fail at this.
Whatever you do on your CV, right, when you apply for jobs, don't over-egg your IT qualification. Just saying.
Just saying, yeah. Oh, bloody hell. Anyway, so, where are you? Why can't I see... Oh, live, here you are. Are you? And then I can go to
that watching one. Now.
And... should I go there, then? Nope, it's still not what I wanted. So, did we lose someone?
I have no idea. It says 2 watching.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, there's the control center. Ah, bloody fucking hell. I am...
Just remember, Google employ a huge number of highly paid engineers. If they're not going to fuck things up constantly, then you know, it's like
why did I need
them?
Money? Yeah, why waste the money? Why did I need them? Well, that is for sure. It used to be so easy to find things. And anyway, well, bunnies for world domination, right? Yes.
So what book was it I read when someone was afraid of bunnies? I read something.
Someone being afraid.
There was a female
bunnies.
character, and she was constantly. Oh no, it's in Buffy the Vampire Slayer where someone's got a thing about bunnies.
Being afraid of bunnies.
Yeah.
That's like not wanting to go outside because there's oxygen outside.
Yeah, I know it's a joke. That's the whole point.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, that was it. It was. I know who it was. It was the Anchor character. She was afraid of bunnies. She used to be a demon who took revenge on bad men, right?
Okay.
And she granted wishes which were always horrible.
Okay.
No, ludicrous. It was Anchor in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She was afraid of bunnies.
It was Father Ted.
No, it might have been in Father Ted as well, but that came after. Sorry,
That's
Graham
all right.
Linehan plagiarized it from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I mean, wasn't Father Ted older than Buffy?
No, Buffy the Vampire Slayer was last century.
Yeah, so was Father Ted.
No. I think you'll find Father Ted was more the first decade. I'll have to do a quick googly search now.
Yeah, me too.
It's all right, we only have to do one between us. Oh, no, you're right. It was at the same... exactly, it was coincident. They ran at the
There
same
you have
time.
it. Now, I remember it was old because I remember watching it in my bedroom when I was still living at home.
Well, you don't live at home now.
Well, I live in a different home now.
You know, this is one habit I never had.
What, living in a home?
No, referring to my parents' house as home, still living at home.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I understand what you mean.
Never had that attitude. It was like, I've always lived in my home.
Yeah.
Even if it's a dingy room in a shared house, you know, that's where I lived. That was my home.
Fair enough, fair enough. So, what do you think? We have enough people watching to do the broad topic?
Well, it's got back up to 4. Now
Yeah.
that's because Michael Keller and I chatted a little. And then there's you and me. So I don't think it matters.
Yeah,
The world is indifferent.
That is also true. So if we look at the rioting in the United States of America, and this is not just a America problem, let's be honest. There are, in my humble opinion, I think there are several things at play here. And everyone focuses on ethnical unrest as if that's the major one. At least it's being pushed as the major one. But
But that's what started it in the first place, was that narrative. So it's all lies.
But yeah, I sincerely doubt that that's it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's terrible that the cop killed the guy. Unfortunately, when a white guy gets killed by the cops, which happens more often than black guys, you hear nothing about it. So there is that. That's step one. That shows that it's not about the cops and black people, because that's just an excuse. But I seriously think that the fact that people have been forced to sit home for the last months, and they have seen what little they have built up in the last year being destroyed because now they can't go back to work, I seriously think that has a bigger impact on the mentality of people and the willingness to riot than just about anything else. Because to me it seems that a lot of people have lost their faith in society. Let's call it like that.
Well, government. No, they lost their faith in government, and damn right, because the politicians keep fucking people over.
Well, true, but I do say society for a reason. Because if it's government, they wouldn't have attacked private properties. And they did. And that
but you cannot attack a what's the word? Abstract concept. Government is an abstract concept.
Yeah, but you
for
can.
The most part.
But you can attack the factual presentation.
You mean you think? Yeah, and they destroyed the police station. So it's not like they didn't attack government.
No. They
it's
also.
Just that
They
there aren't
also
enough government things as targets for all the vented anger, especially when most of the rioters were busting activists from outside.
Well, that is another big issue. That is true.
People who have a fundamental problem of destroying shit for the fun of it.
Yeah, there were a lot of LARPers once again, and I've seen some of the imagery where you can hear people calling to kill white people, and yet if you look at the group of rioters, there's a shitload of white people in that group.
Yeah,
but they're probably not locals.
It's politically pushed in the press. It's politically pushed by organisations for whom this is, it's what they thrive on.
Yeah.
But, that the oppression narrative. Oh, we're so oppressed. I watched a Honey Badger stream last night or the night before, and they were saying how in Texas, a few years ago, quite a few years ago, a white man was killed in exactly the same way as happened this time.
Yeah.
And absolutely nothing came of it because he was white.
Well, that's
it
true.
Didn't go nationwide. There was no fuss. There were no riots because he was white.
Every year in America, the police kills white people more often than black people.
Proportionately.
No. Raw numbers.
No, yeah, well, of course they do raw numbers.
No.
Proportionally.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you look proportionally, you're also missing the point. Because violent crime is far more often perpetrated by black people. So black people
and therefore the proportion you look at is in accordance with the ratio for violent crime.
Yeah. Well,
and that's what proportionally means in this instance.
In that case, black people still get killed less than proportionally.
Yeah, exactly. That was my point. That it's proportionally. Because, you see, here's the problem. If you just say more white people get killed, people say, well, duh, they're 60% of the population as opposed to 20.
Mm-hmm.
So you're giving those who want to argue against you very easy thing to attack. Whereas if you say proportionally to their interactions with the police, they have nothing, right?
No,
because you are pointing that what counts is how police react in response to the appearance of the people they are in contact with. And if there is no proof that they are worse in their reactions towards people just because they're black, and in fact there is evidence the other way, thanks to decades of political implications, right? And because of that, you have to nuance the statement to be clear, and then remove any grounds for deflection and disagreement.
Yeah. It's yeah. How do I? No, I lost my train of thoughts now.
So I mean, I'm looking at the Daily Telegraph page. How have the riots spread across the US, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it says there's 7 sites, and one of them Chicago, and it says several dozen protesters carried "We demand police accountability." Well, guess what? You've got it. The man has been processed with 3rd-degree murder.
Yeah.
If that's not police accountability, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. And
it's like they demand these abstract things. This is what I'm saying about abstract. We demand accountability, as if there isn't a process that is holding the perpetrator accountable. But they don't mean the perpetrator. They want to generalize it to the entire police force.
Well, and this is the thing when it comes to police violence in America, and it is somewhat upsetting. A few years back, I think The Guardian. I can't remember. Give me a sec. I have to. Where are you? Where are you? There you are. I think it was The Guardian. Yeah, it's The Guardian. Started to keep track of people that were killed by the police. They called it The Counted. They did it in 2015 and 2016, and then they stopped.
Because it proved more white people were proportionately attacked than black people.
Because it proved black people weren't proportionately. And it's even funnier than that. It also proved that most of the black people that were shot or killed by the cop were justifiably so. And this is not true for most of the other groups of people that were
shot. Yeah.
Now, if you look at, for example, and I'm looking at the numbers of 2016, you know what? Maybe I should share it with you guys so that you know what I'm talking about.
Sorry, I'd just like to interject as well. Okay, so all these riots are happening because a black man was killed by a police officer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is tragic, and, the guy is going through the criminal process, right?
Yeah, it's bad.
So, on this map of riots in the United States, there's an entry for Louisville, Kentucky. And this is what the caption says. 7 people were hospitalized with gunshot wounds.
Okay.
No, they started over the death of one man. And in response, we have 7 people hospitalized with gunshot wounds.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's like, this is such a counterintuitive reaction.
No, you're correct.
How can you object to somebody being hurt and then hurt many more people?
Yeah. Unfortunately, John, I can't share The Counted because Hangout won't allow me to share it.
I can see it just fine.
Oh yeah, you can see it in the YouTube thingy.
No, I see it on Hangout just fine.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I'm not sharing it now.
It says 1093.
Yeah.
People killed in 2016.
Okay, let's see. If I switch it to 2000.
No, don't touch Hangouts. I can see it. And then.
No, I'm not touching. I changed the counted thingy from 2016 to 2015.
Okay, it says 2016 at the minute.
Okay. Because
then buddies, then back to 2016.
Okay, well, I haven't touched Hangout for a while now. But anyway, so if we look at The Counted, and I have it at 215 now, so the chat can see 2015. And we see that 584 white people were shot and 307 black people were shot. Now, I made a video about it, 2-3 years ago, and most of the people that were shot, especially most of the black people that were shot justifiably. But there were a few people that weren't. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, obviously, more white people were shot unjustifiably than more black people. But where I understand the whole concept of The Counted, all it did was not prove that there was racism, it proved that there is a police brutality issue in America. Hashtag not all, because let's be honest, not all police officers are the problem, but there are a few.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Just as in any demographic, you get a spread.
Yeah. But one of the things that we notice, if we look at the total number of people killed, and this is what I'm showing right now, 307 black people were killed in 2015, and 584 white people were killed.
13 Native Americans, so that's a return to the Indian Wars.
Yeah. But if we then look at the numbers per million, all of a sudden, white people, they barely count. I mean,
Yeah.
if we look at the statistics, it would seem that more Native Americans were killed than white people.
Yeah. Well, as I say, proportionality is a fickle thing because it depends how you determine what to proportion it on, but it isn't unreasonable at some point to do a pure percentage of the population analysis.
I would say that this is a dishonest way of...
No, I said you do several. This is my point. You do several.
Yeah,
you
no,
don't
but
look at it
this
one
one,
way,
this one
you
should...
look at it lots of ways.
This one should never be part of it. Because if you're going to say we're going to look at it per million, you're going to take an overall million people, and then you can proportionalize out of a million people, that many are black, that many are white, blah, 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 blah. But then you get back to the total number. If you're going to say per million, then you say this percentage of black people got shot. But you don't put the number, because then it would seem like, oh, well, yeah, no, a lot more black people get shot. No. It's not clear that what they do here is per million black people, 7.6 black people get shot. But there are only so many millions. Whereas white people...
No, I'm sorry. I think your argument is getting specious. It doesn't matter how many millions. The proportion counts.
It does, because it gives a false narrative. It creates the concept that black people are vastly outkilled.
No. But the point is that is true. The question is why, and that's why you then counter this or accompany this with the ratios for violent crime and likely to come into violent conflict with the police.
Well, that's not what they do in the small thing.
No, I'm not saying it's not what they do. No. That's why I said the correct approach is to show several figures and how they relate to each other.
But if you look at and I'm scrolling through the images now, these are all the people. So...
Well, I doubt they're all the people, because you've got 1,146.
I haven't shown them all. I mean, I can keep scrolling.
No, have they got 1,146 pictures?
They do.
Okay.
I mean, this is quite...
Well, the ones they've got.
Well, the ones they've got, yeah.
I see already there are several they haven't got a photograph.
Yeah, true that. There are quite a lot of them they don't have an image from.
But that blonde-haired white guy definitely looked black.
What, this one?
No, the one up, just up. I'm looking at the YouTube, so I'm...
Oh, right. Yeah, true that. No, but there are plenty of white people that got shot. Exactly. Let's say that roughly...
You know exactly how many, because you've showed the figures.
Yeah. Roughly 1/3 is black and roughly 2/3 is white. So we know this. And
that's racist against Hispanics, Native Americans, Asians, Pacific Islanders, and Native Americans.
See, this is one of the things I never understood. Sometimes Hispanics are white and sometimes they are not.
It depends on the political capital to be gained from the classification.
Well, true that. Because if we look at the situation where the black guy got killed now, one of the police officers there was Asian.
Well, apparently only the guy who did the killing was white, is what I've heard.
I heard that they were a group of 4, and out of the 4, one was Asian.
Well, one was Asian, one was Hispanic, and one was... Yeah, the Asian, I think, was Arabic or Middle Eastern.
I just said Asian on what I read it, so...
Well, of course, but Asian is such a vague...
Absolutely nebulous.
As I say, it goes from the Middle East to the Far East.
Yeah.
And many white Russians are Asians.
Yeah, absolutely.
Blonde-haired, blue-eyed Asians.
Anyway, I'm going back to the top because this is all very interesting. But no, that's the thing, though. When it suits the narrative, Hispanics are white.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't suit the narrative, then you don't mention it. And when it suits the narrative for Hispanics to be other than white, all of a sudden they're no longer white. And
yeah, I mean, look at that kid there, 18, and he was killed by a taser.
Yeah. I've scrolled up, but yeah. Yeah, it's. Don't get me wrong. Some of the people that got killed were absolutely cruising for a bruising, but some of the other peoples were absolutely victims. Just like the guy getting killed, the ones that people claimed to be rioting over. Never mind the fact that the family of the guy said, "Listen, guys, please don't. He was a Christian. He would not want you to do this." Doesn't seem to stop him, and for one silly reason. The doorbell is ringing.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
So what I was going to postulate is, okay, so police officer is a very stressful job, particularly in somewhere like the United States where there are chances you might get shot, right?
Yeah.
Now, as it's stressful, in fact, it is probably more liable that you will express your stress and take it out on someone who doesn't actually represent a threat, which might explain the incidence of undeserved assaults, because you've got a stressed officer who can finally take it out on someone who subconsciously, I'm not saying they consciously, subconsciously feel safe to take it out on.
Well, maybe. I mean, listen, that this officer is to be held responsible goes without saying. And I've read that this guy has been implicated in the murder of a citizen before. Funny enough, I think one of the presidential nominees. One of the candidates for the Democratic presidential thingy. Which one was it? The prosecutor. I forgot her name. Was it Kamala Harris?
Kamala Harris, wasn't she that Californian Democrat who was responsible for all kinds of bad stuff out there? I don't know. I don't care.
I can't remember, but I mean, one of the women that wanted to become the president of the United States used to be the prosecutor in the area and decided not to prosecute this specific cop, who now shot someone else. Do you think she will take responsibility? Well, obviously not.
Of course not.
So, yeah, I mean...
But if it was the opposition, she would demand they take responsibility.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. So, yeah, there are plenty of things that are awry. Is that a good word for it?
Awry? No, I don't think that's a word.
Awry?
Awry, yes.
There are plenty of things that aren't really leveling
kosher.
up.
Just stick with a good old Jewish word.
Kosher. Aren't halal.
No.
You can't use halal because that's Muslim. Why can I use kosher then? Because let's be honest.
Because they've assimilated. They've been amongst us for long enough.
Well,
and I've got Jewish people in my family. So.
But fair enough, though. But isn't Yiddish a perfect example on how they didn't assimilate?
Well,
I'm not saying they shouldn't be here, etc., etc., etc.
It's very hard to ascertain whether they were keeping themselves separate more than they were being kept separate.
Fair enough. We wouldn't know that, so that's a good question.
No, I mean, and the point was, it was a perfect storm because you have a population who were happy to keep separate, but at the same time, the rest of the population didn't want anything to do with them anyway. So it's like, there was no resistance to it. It's not like now when you've got bloody socialist councils going, no, you've got to,
Well, it could be it. No, seriously, could be it. I wouldn't know. But
no, but you know what I mean. It's like okay. So as part of the Robin Hood story, which is set in the, I think, 12th century in England, right? There is a prominent involvement of Jewish people from York. And, you know, and so it describes how, you know, that they were other. They were other, and they were otherized by the Christian majority. And, you know, and that's in popular culture. So it's actually an interesting way to understand what happened in the past, is what the popular culture has passed on.
True. Well, yeah. Still. Let me see if I can do this right now.
Besides which, loan words. Fuck's sake. English is a hodgepodge of so many languages with so many loan words.
Yeah, not just English.
No, I'm just saying, but, you know, so who gives a shit if kosher's, you know, it's like, oh, it's got, no, it's like, fuck off, it's a word. I'm allowed to make a sound. You're not allowed to stop me.
It's a word we actively use, so...
Yeah, exactly. Everyone knows what it means. It's not meant in any way derogatory to the initiating culture. It is used to mean legitimate.
Yeah. And once certain words have taken root in normal use, then yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, of course, because that's how language works.
That's how language works. That's true. So, but yeah, no, I mean, if we look at the rioting in the United States, because let's try to be a little bit on topic. Not too much, but just a little bit. If we look at it, then yeah, okay, we see that people are using the excuse of the death of Gregory. I keep forgetting his name. I'm really bad at it. John, stop killing your keyboard, mate.
Sorry.
So, but no, if we look at the rioting, and people keep pushing the idea that no, it's because of this, that, or the other, and then we see people being bussed in.
Yeah, that's the point.
And we see people attacking their own society.
No, we see people attacking someone else's society in the name of the people they are attacking.
Yeah. I mean, there's a story about a firefighter who saved up money and put all his money into a new to open pub, a sports bar. And it hadn't opened yet because of this COVID thing. And it burned down. They just wrecked it, they looted it, and then they burned it down. This is a black guy.
The violent impulse is severely, you know, it's a severe dysfunction. And that is what I would want to focus on. The propensity for groups to just go and be destructive.
Yeah.
If you have energy, go and make something. But no, making something is hard. Destroying things is easy.
It's easy.
And utterly, it's morally bankrupt and devoid of any level of like maturity. It's like a child. It's a tantrum of a toddler.
And it's you know, some good news out of this. Someone started a GoFundMe campaign for the dude, and last I checked, I don't have the numbers here, but last I checked, they reached almost $500,000. So hopefully that's a little bit of good news in all the badness. Hi there, Dick. Welcome, mate. And there is.
What insurance is for?
Well, yes, true, but insurance don't cover things as well as that. Sorry, I have to. Nou, dan ga maar lekker slapen, kleine man. Well, it depends on and how people put things out there. But yeah, no, I mean, it's one of the good things. But at the same time, hi there, Dick. By the way, it is worrying that we see a society turning against its own self.
What's the? Oh, yours. Your BBC.
Yeah.
Sorry. But British insularity can be quite dreadful.
Well, it's not a very apt comparison because the BBC is more broadcasting.
Fascist.
Well, that too, but it's more a broadcasting company where the NOS is the ones that are responsible for all the equipment of broadcasting, but they're not the ones making programs. The only program.
No. So yours is a broadcaster.
Yeah.
Ours is a
Propaganda
creator.
machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in all fairness, though, they do broadcast something because NOS is also responsible for the news.
No, that's what I'm saying. Well, no, create something. Broadcaster is the person who just puts it out, as in broadcast.
Yeah.
Broadcaster.
And
Whereas
the NOS is the provider of broadcast material and etc.
Whereas BBC are a creator, initiator of content.
But they're also responsible for broadcast, aren't they?
Yes, I'm saying. But the broadcast is like you say, the mechanics of sending it into the ether.
Yeah.
Whereas what they send, there are many channels that exist that create no content of their own.
True. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what you're trying to broadcast there, Dick. Well, give us a try.
I don't know. I'm asking him, and he's being very. He wants to link it, but he doesn't want to tell us. Very odd. He could come on and tell us.
Yeah, you can join us, mate. The Hangout link is still in Discord. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, sure it is.
I didn't take it down, so it must be. But yeah, no, there is another problem, and I really think that this is also a major factor, and that is the collapse of the economic society of the United States.
Well, of everywhere. Let's be honest.
Of everywhere, but at this point in time, we're talking. Well, it's true though, because if we look in other countries, I don't think Germany, Italy, even the UK needs a particularly large spark either. Because
no. I mean, as I say, we this is my attitude. Authoritarianism in governments generally has been on the increase.
Yeah.
But for a few decades, right? They introduce more and more measures for our own good, for our own safety.
Yeah.
Whereas all they're trying to do is
limit us.
Control the uncontrollable. That's the thing. Like hate speech, and it's like you cannot legislate people's thoughts, but they want to. And the mindset behind that isn't merely restricted to those acts. It comes out in other ways as well. It manifests in other ways as well. And the COVID policies were an exemplar of that. Right? The ease and the willingness to just overreact, to lock things down, to hassle people for doing perfectly reasonable things, like walking in the middle of nowhere, right? Is part of the mindset. And if you've got a city that is stressed by the fact that they're poor, they're hit by the economic decline, they are more likely to suffer in a virus outbreak because cities are worse places to live, right? They're less healthy and more prone to outbreaks, right? So you've got all these mitigating factors, and the authoritarianism, no shit, people are ready to explode. Duh.
And according to Ludicrous Leprechaun, they're now talking to extend the Brexit process for another 2 years.
Yeah. Well, if Labour push that, it will be they will never be elected ever again.
Well, let's hope they push it then.
Yeah, the shadow government. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but well, no, because the point is the people have had enough.
Yeah, that's why.
Or enough of the people have had enough.
Mm-hmm.
Enough of the people say, no, we just want it done.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, no, that is also part of the rioting. It's. I mean, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of racism in it. Sure, why not? I mean, you can push everything. There is the controlled opposition of Antifa-like organizations like Black Lives Matter. But there are also people who are...
Well, you've got the professional rioters who are...
Yeah, indeed. But there are also local people who are likely to follow along because of their...
Yeah, the young and the directionalists.
Directionalists, yes. The surplus of young men. And a surplus of young men creates unrest within society, and that's what we're seeing. Now, not just...
They're foot soldiers. They're foot soldiers.
Yeah.
And just, if you like, hanging about waiting to be pointed at something.
And that's what's happening.
And that's what's happening.
And not just in America, because as we said... I mean, France had this problem for... How long has the Yellow Vest protests been going on?
A couple of years, I would say.
And no one talks about it anymore, because they didn't...
No. The media don't, because there's nothing in their narrative it benefits. Because if you notice, you get all these middle class overeducated wankers in the media, and they're constantly pushing the narrative that they are advocating for the little man and woman, right? Yet when the little man and woman takes action for themselves, these same people don't want to know.
Yeah. But that's because these organizations... Hell, this is the same thing as we see with feminism. Oh no, feminism is there to uplift women. Yeah, but unless women disagree.
It's not.
Because
Never have a lie. It's an elitist movement. Always has been.
Yeah. But I guess this is true for just about all movements that exclude others. I need a fast bio break though. I'll be right back. John, can you...
That's fine.
Keep the people entertained.
I'll babble on for a few minutes. But yes, all the fundamental problem is the only people in the position with the luxury of heading these movements are themselves educated liberal elites. And thus it's no surprise that all these movements are led by educated liberal elites. And no matter what someone from the educated liberal elites will tell you, they haven't got the foggiest what actual people, the people they claim to represent, want or need. It was this realization that made me stop being an Trotskyist many decades ago. It was a realization that as the product of a relatively privileged upbringing, I was in no position to understand what regular working people wanted. So I didn't try. Unfortunately, there are so many people for whom there is a void of morality. Hi, Dick.
Yes, what you are saying might be true, but it's very racist.
Racist?
Yeah, it's racist.
How am I racist?
Yeah, we're all racists. You don't know it.
No. But I mean, how was what I was saying racist?
I don't know, mate. I'm just joking. I'm falling in.
Oh no. Okay. Sorry, I thought you had a specific objection to my words.
No, this was not a great revelation of mine. So keep talking.
Of course, I'm racist. I am the epitome of evil. I am
the white devil,
a heterosexual white male. Come on. My very existence is an offence to most of people, apparently.
How are your neighbors doing?
They're lovely people who I get along well with.
I don't know the English saying, but we say two birds of the same flock, of the same feather flock together.
Well, there's an expression: birds of a feather flock together.
That kind of thing. Yes. I'm reading to the news headlines, and this one stuck out a little bit, and I'm going to translate it literally in English.
Okay.
It's from the NOS. It's the Dutch BBC. So if they were as big as the BBC, they would be just as cancerous. So we're happy we're a small country.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it says protests in the United States are natural reaction of people who don't see any other way out.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. It's not about whether that's true. It's about whether they are sympathetic. Because when it's equally true, but they're not sympathetic, they're like, but that's no excuse.
Yeah. But they're actually what they're saying is that black people are prone to get violent.
Well, in all fairness, but yeah, that is what they're saying, and this is funny enough. Also, the excuse they are using. Well, I mean, obviously they're violent because look at racism. They have been the victim for 400 years.
400 years.
Then they must be fucking old. I mean, if I can still go out and ride when I'm 400, hey, sign me up for that.
Right. I just want to know, right, that these young, and I'm not saying they don't work their socks off and they don't thoroughly serve it, but these young men who become multi-millionaires through sports or their music or whatever, right?
Aye.
I mean, God, the oppression those poor people suffer.
Mm-hmm.
The Nike contracts from Kaepernick. That football player. And he got a multi-million sponsorship. I mean, if this is the case to be oppressed, I really want to be oppressed.
Yeah, exactly.
Where can I get my oppression, please?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No wonder Sean King identifies as black. And to be honest, I'm surprised more don't join him.
Well, actually, do a lot of people do join because more and more people are indeed recognizing that. Hey, you know what? If I call myself X, Y, or Z, I all of a sudden have all sorts of extras.
Can I just point out pedantically, in America it'd be X, Y, and Z, but sorry, I can't help myself.
And then there is John.
And then there's me. Determined to never let it get too serious.
But if they are oppressed for 400 years, I can never be racist. I respect the elderly.
Yes.
I respect the elderly. How can I be racist?
Well, no. Be fair, right? So, I don't know about the Dutch, but Rule Britannia, which was written in the 18th century, has the line, Britons never shall be slaves. And the reason that was in there was because of the habit of the Barbary pirates to come and raid the south coast of England and kidnap people into slavery.
Yeah, and they fought back.
And we had nothing like the south of France, Italy, and so forth, where whole regions were deserted on the coast of the south of France because of the Barbary pirates. But apparently, only black people have been slaves.
Yeah.
Plus, I heard someone say black people enslaved by the white man. The white man did not enslave black people.
No, we just bought them.
We just bought them. Black people enslaved black people.
I think it's a pretty good angle to be in. I mean, You're not hunting down people. You just do some capitalistic.
It was just commerce. They were already there in the slave markets, a market that existed because of Arabs.
But this is the thing, right? Because if you look at those protests, a lot of locals, it's and this is not because of color, because this whole riot, it has absolutely nothing to do with black and white. I don't see anything. That's the narrative that's being spilled. But if you've also seen the images. People who are rioting and actually breaking shit and putting stuff on fire are mostly white people.
Yeah,
from what I've seen.
Well, now, a lot of white people are in these riots. Where normally, if we look at racial riots in the past, you could clearly see. But now the majority is still black in these riots, but there are a lot of white people there as well.
Yeah, but there are buses coming in with loads of people to come to riot. These are tourists.
Yeah.
And okay, now it's back for aluminium foil time again. There was a guy who showed some footage of how the bricks built to build bricks, stones. It was on a pallet there on the corner of a street. What was it doing there?
Yeah,
I mean, there was nothing building, or what is that?
Yeah, they shipped it in. I know.
And this is not a riot of black and white. This is a riot of the extreme left. Yeah, that's what's happening here. And this is with the COVID fear. First, they tried to burn down the economy, which they succeeded very well. And now this is the next step, a so-called race war. This has everything to do with Orange Men Bad, nothing else.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, quite what it's got to do with him is beyond me.
This is breaking all shit down and to give a negative image to the president. That's the only thing I can come up with, because all these riots are only taking place in democratic controlled areas.
Because democratic places are shithole.
Yes, and if you and you can say whatever you want, but if you look at the Republican states, there are no riots, and there's also not more or less racism than before. It's just there is some government who maintains order.
Yeah. Well, do you remember Brexit, right? So Brexit, the vote was 2016. And then the media have pushed this narrative that in the follow-up to Brexit, the number of hate incidents had gone up. I don't believe a word.
Well, it sounds nice to call it that.
Yeah, it sounds nice. But even if there were more, it's like this. You can have a rise in reporting due to public awareness that is not reflect as a consequence of an increase in incidents.
Mm-hmm.
The two things are not correlated, is the point. Just because you suddenly get a spike in reports doesn't mean you've had a spike in activity. But because to even know that, you would have to have an accurate means of determining the before and after, and you don't.
Yeah, there are more funny things coming with this assumption, to be honest. Because sometimes, let's say, okay, but there is increase in reporting. Yeah, okay. Did we look at the different reports? Because, for example, if we look at, and this is true in the Netherlands, and it's so much fun in the Netherlands. It's not much fun, don't get me wrong, but the realization of this is fun. If we look at the LGBTQ bullshit, we see a rise in anti-LGBTQ violence. So, obviously, the Netherlands are anti-LGBTQ.
No, that's not what that means at all. That's just sophistry.
The funny thing is, if we then look at the numbers, we can see who are the ones actually committing the crimes. And then all of a sudden, you're not supposed to talk about it. because the ones doing the crimes are to be a protected group.
Yeah, exactly.
So how can we address this? Well, if we can blame every white person for it, that would be nice. Yeah, but it's not going to change anything because it's not them. But the fact that you now are blaming these white people means that there will be an increase in white people being anti-LGBTQ. Because, hey, if you're going to fuck me over it anyway, I might as well do something back.
Yeah, well, and the activists are so unpleasant and appalling to the regular population, so rude and insulting, that of course it creates a negative response.
Yeah.
But the public doesn't generally realise it's only a few activists and not the group they claim to advocate for.
True that.
Well, the journalists are pretty aware of this because they did it. Well, this was so funny. Well, when they attacked the CNN headquarters, these journalists have been protecting and being the advocacy, being the lawyers of Antifa, and now it's the roosters are how do you say it? It comes back to them now like a boomerang, and now it's not a peaceful protest anymore, but now they're violent.
Well, at the risk of invoking Godwin's law, the big problem in 1933 was that the business people who supported the rise of the National Socialist Party to power thought they could control them.
You can't control radicals.
You can't control radicals. They were mistaken, and this is exactly the same problem. These people are being protected, sponsored, and propped up by massive corporations and financial powers because they are useful, and they think they can control them.
And then they get bit in the ass.
And then they get bitten, and they will find out that, just as in Germany in 1933, their belief of control was self-deception, self-delusion.
Yeah. Which is an issue, which is a problem. But, it's nicer to pretend that there is nothing going on. And I've said this in many a different stream, on many a different topic. In the West, we direly need to return to the rule of law. That doesn't mean we need to become a police state, but we can't have different groups being addressed differently because of perceived issues.
Yeah, but upholding the law is right wing.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's how far left these people already are. That they have gone so far that ways that everything that makes a little bit sense is already far right. So the thing is, I don't think you can reason with these people. I think this is already too late. I think they really need to feel it, and I don't.
I have to respond to Ludicrous. Ludicrous, have you ever seen my old background image? You can still see it in the thumbnail of this channel. That is King Canute on the beach telling the sea that it has to go back.
No, he wasn't. He was actually being ironic. He was
I know.
He was actually saying, I can't. Look.
No. Listen, the sea doesn't listen to me. And it's true. And this is the interesting thing about the story. I mean, King Canute was considered a wise king, and he was powerful and blah 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 blah. And he himself said, "No, I'm just a guy."
Yeah.
But in that, kind of also proves that he was of Danish. I think he was Danish.
He was. Kent was a Danish kingdom.
Yeah. So he was of Danish Viking descent. And
I mean, actually, his name wasn't Canute. It was Canute, C-N-U-T.
Yeah.
And
King Knut.
Which is actually not that different from Kent. I'm just saying.
True that, but it's still pronounced Knut.
No, I know. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that he was the king of the Danish kingdom of Kent, and it might actually be derived from his name, is my point. Because these things happen.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, it's an interesting story how he's... to prove that he was... And it's kind of funny because the story goes that there were people that hated him and therefore saw this story as a reason to say, look at the idiot, he thinks he can control the sea. And then there were people who, and I think this is more realistic considering the Vikings were seafaring people, who realized, no, what he's showing is that no matter how brilliant we think he is but a man. And I personally think that is indeed the story of King Knut.
Misspelt a hate term.
I think John misspelled a hate term. Actually, the story is usually mistold. He was... Oh.
Okay, so you can see which word he's referring to.
Well, I can't, but... Cunt.
Oh, Canute. It's not a hate term, it's biological. It's Old English for the vagina. It was used by Chaucer.
Actually, Canute is not Old English for vagina.
No, I didn't say Canute is. I said cunt. He said misspelled a hate term, and I said cunt.
Yeah,
it's
cunt.
not a hate term. It is Old English. And it is included in Chaucer. Those school children, lucky enough, and I use that in the most sarcastic manner I can summon, to study Chaucer, get to use the word.
Yeah. Now, I'm not one for Old English books, so there is that. But yeah, no, it's weird how most of the problems in the Western world, the oikophobia we are being treated to, all have their roots in left-wing ideology. Because it's
this is it. We've been talking to the end of days about the social justice and the extreme left, but what we're now seeing, this is actually this is the fruit of decades of work, of hard work, because they worked hard for it to accomplish this kind of state.
Yeah.
And what we're now seeing is the blossoming of the far left ideology.
Yeah,
this is what the end game is.
Well, they're wrong. They're wrong. They will lose.
Well, we know this is the end game. They think after this, their end game is coming when they can build their utopia. But this is the end. If they destroy everything and
there'll be nothing to rebuild.
No,
but that's not the point. They will lose because last year's election, the UK proves the overwhelming majority of the population utterly rejects them.
Yes, but still they manage to take ground.
Well, this is another thing. I was talking to someone on Twitter about this, and he was like, "Yeah, but it's only because people can't be heard politically, so therefore they riot, and we should listen to the rioters." And I'm like, a minority of the minority of the minority is rioting, and the rest of the country needs to listen to it.
And not just that, but a minority of the rioters is doing so because they can be heard no other way. The vast majority of them are political activists who are LARPing and doing it for kicks.
And most of them living in their white American suburbs with mommy and daddy. And I have heard this a couple of times, and they're not wrecking their own neighborhoods. They're wrecking theirs. And that mayor of Minneapolis, was it right? It's the city. It's a city. It's not a state. Or it's the city. Well, the mayor said, I take back my police because it's not safe for them. Well, wait a minute. The police, it's their job to make it safe. It's their job. So this doesn't make any sense. So what he is saying to every criminal in the whole United States, come over here. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, well, and as long as you act violently enough, the police will just run away.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and put on your masks for the COVID-19, so we won't recognize you. So easily.
Yeah, indeed.
I don't have any proof of this, but this is all a Democrat play. They know they lost.
What they should do, the minute they gather, they should arrest them all for breaking the social distancing.
Yeah, but this is I would say this is a normal situation, but that is also not very
Well, in all fairness, though, in America, most of the people being fined or arrested for social distancing weren't of color. Because people of color didn't care much about social distancing from the start, and therefore they got away with it.
Well, but that's not only happening in America. It happens here in the Netherlands as well. When you see some guy, some autistic guy who was sitting 1.3 meters of somebody else, got a fine. But if you go to the neighborhoods where all the Moroccans live and the Turkish, and they're all sitting together and not one single police officer.
No, to be fair, right. So I went to Tesco this morning, and there's a guy with a sign, keep 2 meters apart. And he wasn't doing a very good job of setting an example. I'll just put it like this. So anyway, there's one point when he's walking with a colleague and I'm walking behind them. And he's not only got it on his sign he's holding, but he's also got the back of his shirt. And I said, oh, you've missed a bit. You should have put when I want to.
Yeah.
And the woman, the young woman he was with, turns around and she was a snotty cow. She goes, "We're colleagues. We don't have to." Now, the interesting thing is, my next door neighbour was telling me about how he can't even turn round in the office to talk to the person sat behind him because it would break social distancing.
Yeah, because officers still need to do social distancing. I mean, the only reason why a man and a woman don't need to social distance is because they live together.
Yeah.
They are the only exception.
But she said it's because they're colleagues, and that is bullshit.
Yeah, that's really
absolute bullshit. Working with someone it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's neither a for or against. It's more on it. But she would say, "Oh no, we're okay because we work together." I'm sorry, that's bullshit.
That's simply not true.
And it's simply not true. But it's a classic. I'm more than happy with the rules as long as they apply to everyone else, not me.
Yep. It makes no sense.
Well, it does. It's human nature. But the point is they don't understand the impact it has on everyone else.
Yeah, obviously not, because they don't care about anyone else.
No, because as soon as you see that, you go, well, actually, it can't be that important. So why should I do it?
And it's kind of funny, but it has been more or less proven that you are more likely to get sick indoors than outdoors.
Yeah.
And that's not a small proof, it's beyond.
Well, it's common sense. It was obvious from day fucking one when they said how it was spread, that if you're going to meet people, do so outside.
Yeah.
I've seen things that is absolutely ridiculous. A guy sitting in the middle of a forest or in the middle of a grass in the park is sitting all by himself with his dog, and police officers come and stuff like it. It's horrendous. That doesn't make any sense.
I can still remember seeing this guy running on the beach. I think it was in America, in Miami or something. And I'm like, he was being chased by two cops who couldn't, by the way, catch him.
No. Because he was running every morning, and those police officers were eating donuts every morning.
I mean, there's no one else on the bloody beach. But I think it was New York.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Was New York.
And they were like, well, you're allowed to go to the beach now, just as long as you stay on the dry sand.
What?
And that's logical because...
Reasons?
Popsicle solar flare? I can't...
If you see all this madness, you just hope it was Ebola. I mean, this at the beginning you don't know what is coming at you, but at some point you know what you're dealing with, and somehow we're still stuck in this, and it doesn't make any sense.
No, we have had a pandemic. We've had a pandemic of authoritarianism.
Well, that too, yeah.
Where all the natural little Hitlers, as we call them when I was growing up, had got the chance to let their inner Nazi loose.
Yeah. True. Now, and I've said this a few times on this stream, and I know people didn't like. I know you, for example, had a problem with it back in the day. Bloody hell, my naming.
So is he going to say Paolo or John? I'm on tenterhooks.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to say Paolo or John, but I'm crap with names, so now I can't remember.
Oh, so someone in the audience.
Yeah. No. I mean Dick Cheese. Dick Cheese said, what was it? A few months ago, he was like, well, but it's unfair that we compare it to the flu and blah, 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 blah. It's a really deadly disease.
That still is. I still remain on this because this is not a flu.
No, it's not a flu, but it's comparable in its effect. Not in its sickness effect, but in its how many people die and how contagious it is. But...
It is more badly, but not... How do you say it?
But that's the thing. But that's the thing.
It's not 10 times or something like that.
No, it's not even one time more deadly or contagious than the flu. And some people have said it from the start, but official instances, like, for example, I posted it in the Discord, how the CDC, I think was last month, have already said, okay, you know what? Yeah, no, the deadliness of this disease is about 0.24%. Now, if we're going to take into account all sorts of extras, then we can come a little bit higher than that, or we can go a little bit lower than that, but roughly 0.24. It's roughly as bad as the flu. Difference is that for the flu we can vaccinate, and for COVID we can't. And people have been saying this from the very get-go.
But there's more to it. You also read reports of people who got cured.
And then got sick again. Yeah, no, I understand what you mean.
But a lot of them still have problems breathing.
I know.
Even months after having it.
I know.
So that's why I'm very reluctant to compare it to the flu.
No,
it's not Ebola or something in that kind of sense.
If I'm comparing it to the flu, I'm doing so based on death numbers and how easily it spreads.
Well, we can agree.
It's a different disease other than those two.
Yeah, we can agree these viruses are shitty to have.
Yeah, I already had it, and I know, and I have a slight damage to my lung, and it's not sure if it's from the COVID or if it's because one of my other health issues, but I never had it before, so I personally think it's reasonable to assume it is what's left over from COVID. Who knows? It's not a big deal. It's something to, learn to live with or something. I have asthma all my life, so plenty of breathing issues I've been learning to live with. It's a different beast than the flu. If your argument is it's not the flu, it's something else, then yeah, you're correct.
No, the answer to that is no shit, Sherlock. It would be called the flu if it was.
True.
But at the beginning, it's also I've never was pro lockdown for eternity. That was never my point. My point was, okay, we don't know what is heading for us. We should take a step aside just for a moment, so we can get the information and go back forward.
Yeah,
but now we're still at this point. We're still stuck.
No, but the idea that we step in place, lockdown for a moment to see what's going on and then move on.
I think 2 or 3
agree.
weeks was enough.
I'll raise you one. If we look in the Netherlands, we were 2 months too late.
Yeah, okay, that's even a better approach.
So by the time that we in the Netherlands said we're going to lock down, by that time it wasn't necessary because we basically knew what was going on, and the issue was already moot. 50 to 60% of our society already had COVID, but they're not counted. The only ones that are counted are the ones that needed medical assistance and needed hospital assistance. But that's not how we count the flu. With the flu, we say, okay, you know what? Everyone could have had it. We roughly know how many people had it. But 80 to 90% of the people don't even get sick. They might have a sniffle once or twice, and that's it. Asymptomatic, they call it.
As I said the other day to you, I had a cold for half an hour the other night.
Yeah. There you go. And this is true for COVID too. And we knew it, and we know it, but even when doctors say this, they get silenced because you're not allowed to say it.
Okay, so here's the problem, right? Governments tend to be in big cities, and the requirements and problems in a big city are vastly greater than in everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And governments, one thing they are no good at is proportionate measures. And so, like in the States, so Alicia was telling me there's one state, and it's a very, I forget which one it is, but it's one of the very scantily populated states, and they've done nothing. No shit, it's a totally rural state.
Yeah, why should they?
Why should they? And that's the point. So if you live in a rural area, the measures you need to take are fundamentally reduced compared to a large city. And so yes, you might have to worry about what happens on the London Underground, right? Because that is the perfect transmission and breeding ground for this sort of illness.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you apply the same thing to a village.
True.
But governments they can't do that. They seem to be incapable of nuance and say, this is what we're applying to the big cities, and this is what you have to do in a town, and this is what you have to do. This is all you need to do in a village. It's no, everyone's got to do the same.
Yeah, and funny enough, even if we look at the way we've dealt with it in big cities, it was a lot too late. It was way too little and a lot too late.
But governments have to be seen to be doing something.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, though. It's not we are doing something useful. No. It's literally we're doing something. Look at us. Look at how we're doing something.
In World War II, they had people. They had all these beautiful ornamented wrought iron railings in London.
Mm-hmm.
And they had people remove them and smelt them down, even though the iron in them was useless.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it as a PR stunt.
Yeah.
Because psychology is a factor.
It is.
You know what's also very it's not surprising anymore, but the way our ministry, our prime minister and the cabinet have taken this issue of COVID in hand and how they handled it amateuristic and really, really bad, and they're still not handling it very well, in my opinion. And the thing is, if you look at the polls, these people are congratulated and rewarded with bad management. It's unbelievable how retarded, how stupid the Dutch really are. And I think, my point is that it's not only in the Netherlands, I suppose, but what I've come across is that the Dutch people are very submissive, slavely, and quite dumb.
Yeah. That's what education's for.
Yes, but they've become in lower quality in the past decades also. So
that because education's made people even worse.
And that's why they want to have 16-year-olds to have a vote, because they're already climate soldiers of the climate. So
You see, here's a question. No, but here's the question, Dick. And this is something I would ask everyone to consider seriously. Okay. Fair enough, we can criticize the government and criticize the decision. Mm-hmm. How well do you think you would have done Because it's one thing to be critical of others, and it's another thing to have to face the situation under the circumstances and with the information they have.
Yeah, okay, but I could say, okay, now my uncle gets I can ask another question. My uncle gets heart surgery, for example, and he dies on the operation table. Well, how good could you have done it, Dick, if you were the surgeon?
No. That's not quite the same thing.
I'm not the one in control. I don't have any ambition to get in power or whatever. So the people who are elected in should be capable of handling this.
But here's the problem. The potential issues facing a government it's just a huge range, right? And the sorts of problems we've tended to have over the last few decades have been of a particular nature. And so the people who go into politics and get elected tend to be focused on those issues. I won't call them competent, focused. We have, with the health crisis, something they're just not capable of, inexperienced or knowledgeable about, right?
But this is if you're a ruler, you have to anticipate on the situation beforehand.
Theoretically, my point being is that we have these highly flawed electoral systems that do not elect people on competence.
No, that they're career people.
And they specialize because they have to. You cannot be competent in every single potential facet.
Yeah, okay, but okay, this is a discussion of these people being technical.
No. Sorry, I'm not trying to disagree with you. I'm just trying to say it is easy to be judgmental.
I don't.
I just like to say, yes, we can criticize, but I can also understand how hard it must be as a politician if you know what you're doing is useless, but your advisors are saying, but if you don't do anything, you'll get crucified in the media, and then it'll be even worse for you.
Well, then you're not the right person for the job.
Yeah, but they're all like that. You show me any one of them that's not like that, because at the end they have to get re-elected.
Well, that's weak.
Yes, it's weak. We have a system that breeds weak leaders.
Weak
leaders. This being my point to how it's highly flawed.
But this is the thing. I mean, I know that I didn't have the expectation that he would handle it perfectly. But what I am seeing here is that they're busy with a completely different agenda that has everything to do. That has nothing to do with fighting COVID. I mean, if now we have a parliament that can't control the cabinet anymore, yeah. so they can do whatever they want, and they do it. They put everything about the climate and about the nitrogen, and they want to throw our farmers away because they're bad to nature and more of that bullshit. And it's all based on numbers of the RIVM, that's our CDC. And if you look how they produce these numbers, they're pretty fraudulent. And this same organization is now advising in how to handle this COVID. And they're in a team of people where we as people of this country don't know who are in this crisis management team. What are they discussing there? There's no transparency. And if you look at this, a couple of billions to the European Union and a couple of $100 million to the climate, and all these things are going through. And I'm thinking of this, there's going to be hyperinflation. We're going to have an economic crash from here to Tokyo. What the hell are these people doing? Yeah. Or have they... Or do they have something, a safeguard, that there's not going to be an economic crash? Do they know something we don't know?
No.
There will be an economic crash.
There will.
It can't be averted anymore.
If this economic crisis is coming, we have a minister of foreign affairs who says, we're going to make 1 billion euros over to Africa and 200 billions to climate and stuff like this. All this complete nonsense. I mean, the whole economy is on the standstill.
They are not connected to reality.
I can't imagine this, because if they are pushing this through, the stroke that is coming from this economic downfall will be even more higher than it already is going to be.
Okay. So here's the problem, right? So anyone is not an expert in the vast majority of subjects, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can only be expert in some things.
Yes.
And a lot of politicians are either professional politicians or they're ex-lawyers, or, you know, their competences have nothing to do with reality, right? So then the next problem is, okay, so if you have a potential issue, you're only as good as what the advice you are given. And one of the problems we have is that the industries that generate advice, because there are industries that generate advice, right, are political or self-interested, and the advice given is not sound, shall we say.
Well, I agree with this. But if you have the politicians here saying stuff like, "Oh, criminality is going down." Yes, that may be true if you look at the numbers, but that's a little bit short to around the corner, because if you have to wait for half a year or a year before the police officer takes your report on if you're being raped, you go to the police and make a report about it. It can take up to a year. So if you treat criminality this way, yeah, of course your numbers are not going up. But they compare it to the 80s. But in the 80s, we had all these cars broken in for the radios and stuff like this.
Yeah.
Bikes are being stolen. But if you compare that to the criminality nowadays, now it's home robberies with a lot of heavy violence.
Yeah.
And okay, those numbers are shorter, but the impact of those kind of acts are way bigger than your radio is stolen from your car.
No, exactly. One's a non-violent sort, and the other sort is.
Yeah, but this is what you're seeing everywhere. That they're taking these numbers and they fumble it around until they can spin their narrative around it. Hey, it looks good, everything. Yeah. And at the moment you confront them, I've seen an image of our prime minister that was being confronted with, hey, people are fined for not social distancing. But if I go to the ghetto there and there, the people are all in. And how is that? And you see the irritation on his face. You are disturbing him in his good will.
Well, you've generated cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
And no one likes to experience cognitive dissonance. They would rather just ignore all those inconveniences.
But at the moment I have that, and maybe not in that moment, but I take it away with me and I think about it. Am I in the wrong here? That's my natural reaction.
Yeah, but you are not a leading politician. You never could be. Because if you have an ounce of self-reflection,
the party is never wrong, comrade.
Well, no, it's not just that, but you need a certain arrogance and self-confidence that, unfortunately, tends to be the negation of self-reflection
but
then self-awareness.
Then you have all this, I call these fake plastic people, these PR and marketing politicians who only look good from the outside, but these are not real persons. These are not real people. A real person also have negative aspects, qualities.
I've heard from an insider in what they call the Westminster bubble, right? And not personally, but you know that there were reports from this person who was long experience on the inside, and they said these are vile people, almost without exception. Because you get a problem where the only people who can tolerate being there are themselves vile people. And so it becomes self-perpetuating because anyone decent stops.
Yeah.
And at the moment everything goes to shit. It's those populists and the racists and those goddamn Russians. And there is never a moment they say to themselves,
"It must have been me."
Maybe it's me. No, it's always something else. These people can never be wrong. They're holy, they're sanctuous, whatever.
We've seen this thing with the disaster that was the Labour election campaign last year. how much that I'm not saying no Labour politicians recognise.
All right, okay.
But how many, especially of the Politico sort, just doubled down? Oh, well, the message was fine. People liked the message.
I don't know what kind of monk you must be to think that. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but
exactly. And this is my point. It's like even when confronted with hard data, telling them that people didn't like what they were doing, they didn't like them, they didn't like their policies.
we won
They
the
were
argument.
they were like, oh no, we just didn't sell them right.
Yeah, but we did won the argument.
No, you didn't, morons.
Yeah, that okay, but that's but why even have a dialogue with them anymore? Why don't?
Well,
just
I don't.
ignore?
I quite agree. I don't. But
Yeah.
the point is, in an open system, you can't bar them.
Well, that's the end of democracy, I guess. This only can go one way.
Well, it is the end of democracy, and this is something we've been seeing in Europe even for the last 30 years, easily.
Well, it was fun when we were sitting behind our computers and laughing at the libtards in college.
No. It's way worse than that. Most people don't recognize what's going on. But it started the day when in Belgium or in the Netherlands, for example, and this is true for the UK as well, when they started talking about cordon sanitaire. Someone has gotten a lot of votes, people voted for him, but the established parties do not want to work with that person, so we're going to work around him. And that person is not going to be part of the story. In the Netherlands, the first one to have it happen to was Jan Maat. And Wilders has it happen to him as well, and we now see it happening with, what's his face?
Hapsnurker,
Baudet, yes. And in the UK, what was the name? I forget his name. Wasn't it Power? Powell?
No. That's a fundamentally different issue, mate.
Well, he did it with Farage, so.
Well, Farage, yeah, same thing, really.
Except Farage was successful.
But at the moment,
the politicals tried to do everything they could to make it not so.
Oh, I know, but the very fact that for all their effort they failed shows that it isn't entirely true what you're saying about how people are duped and how people don't know. In Britain, people do know, and they demonstrate it every chance they get, every time they get the chance. The problem is that if you've got one vote every 5 years, how do you choose when there are so many issues, so many factors to take into account? Plus, like, we have a first past the post system, so I might want to vote for a smaller party, and that might make my vote a negative vote insofar as I don't vote for the smaller party because I don't want another party to get in because I'm taking away from the party I prefer second. And this is the complication, because I don't get a pure vote. Because there's one winner, and the one winner is the person who gets most, and they literally only have to get one more vote. They don't have to get half, they don't have to get a majority, they just have to get one more vote.
That's because you guys have the first past the post system.
Yeah. And the point is that there are people who say it's the best or the least worst system, and there are people who hate it. And the problem is there isn't a system that will give a good solution.
No, because in all fairness, I like the fact that you can have a consensus democracy like we have in the Netherlands. But the downside is that the political parties then can decide, okay, you know what, the majority of the people have voted for this, but we don't care.
We don't care. We're not even going to talk to the people who support that.
Yeah.
And so it's not democracy, because the people aren't saying what's decided, what the views are.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing that a country like the United States of America is still around after a couple of 100 years, because it's so huge, and they still manage to govern it in some.
Because, and this is my point about when I was saying about a state that didn't impose a lot of the power still resides at the state level.
Exactly. If federal things are like defense and stuff like that. What I was saying, I think a lot of more of the powers should be decentralized and more to the regions.
Yeah. Which is the opposite of what Europe's been doing.
Yes, the decentralizing and it's a bureaucratic hellhole. I mean, it has nothing to do making our lives any better. It's not there. It's horseshit. It's just a deep black hole where we put money in, and it doesn't come back.
Yeah.
It's
actually autocracy.
Yeah, but then again, these people still don't realize they are in the wrong here, and what we're seeing with
autocrats don't. That's the point. It's an autocracy. They are implementing autocracy, but because they delude themselves they are democratic, they think they are being democratic, even though everything they're doing is anti-democratic.
But this is the scary part of the thing. At the moment, with all the tactics getting dirtier and dirtier, and smearing and stuff like this, but even then, what you said, they still cannot win. And at the moment they lose their grip, they go apeshit. The Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing.
Because they're autocrats.
Yeah, but now reality finally hit in, and they are wrong. And that is what is scary to me, because a cat in a corner makes really weird, strange jumps. If you corner a cat, he does really weird things.
Yeah.
And that's also happening with these people, I'm afraid. They with the censorship and stuff like this. At the moment, these people are confronted with reality. It's like a person who's in a...
Well, they switch to the deplorable argument. The majority might disagree with it, but that's only because they're deplorable.
And we need to re-educate them, and they're too stupid.
They don't know what they want because they're autocrats.
Mm-hmm.
They want to just rule by fiat, not by consensus.
Yeah, but this goes so crazy with the Democrats destroying American economy, because that's what they were doing with the COVID lockdown, from what I've seen, and now destroying cities with looting, and because this is a democratic play for what is happening there, from what I'm seeing. I don't believe that these are natural, spontaneous riots.
No. Well, we've agreed that there's a lot of people being bussed in at very short notice. But
they go to these levels just it's really childish. If I can't have it, you can't have it. That kind of mentality.
Well, no, it's because they have no grasp on reality. They think that the wealth that's created, right, exists independently. And so if they can just get rid of the people who've got it now, they can take it. What they don't understand is it doesn't work like that, that the vast majority of wealth is actually hypothetical. And therefore, if you destroy that wealth, it's gone.
Yeah.
That's what a depression is.
Mm-hmm.
The day before a crash was no different from the day after a crash, except for the nominal worth of what's being measured.
Yeah.
But there's no other difference. It's all hypothetical. It's all theoretical, and they think that this complex system, which manages to sustain an insane amount of non-productive activity, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow that's just a natural part of the order of things instead of an absolute freak compared to the rest of human history.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're morons. They don't know how anything works.
Yeah, that's Jesus. I get your point. You just said something about politicians and politicians, but the newest generation of politicians who don't know how everything works, like you're saying, that may be correct, because most of these young people, they're 15, 16 years old, and they're sitting in the younger department of political party, and that they're being raised and educated to become a career politician. But these people never seen any company from the inside. They know absolutely shit about how things work in reality, and what they have a reality they perceive like how the society should be, but that is miles apart from how reality really is. They want the reality to be whatever they want it to be, and they don't accept the reality how society is like it is. And they want to change it radical or whatever with all kinds of plans, but they miss the life experience of how things actually roll.
I mean, if people were actually educated, it would start by telling people just how insanely lucky we are, how exceptional these times are, and how no matter what problems exist, it could be just so much worse. Because the problem is if people just naturally acclimatized to the norm. And people who were born into relative affluence just think it's normal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. It is so unusual, it cannot be stated. But worse than that, the left are stripping from history anything that would tell people it's unusual.
Yeah. Again, I think they have a very childish look at the world. That the white man always was superior. This is a really strange perception of the world, I guess. But like
it's called ignorance. You know, it's funny, but we could actually get everyone else in the chat into here and just do it over Hangouts.
No, it's on YouTube side. If I look in my subscription feed, I see. The picture and riots in the street, but there's not some information is missing.
Well, YouTube is annoying. It has been for quite some time now, but it should be working fine now. So,
well, as I say, I mean, given the number of people watching, we can just get the other guys in the hangout. We can just
fair enough, guys. If you want to join the hangouts, we can close the stream down because we've been going for 2 hours anyway. It's slightly over.
Yeah.
And we can keep.
Yeah, it's restarted and then it buffered again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have no idea what's going on because everything on this site seems to be working as it should, except for the fact it's not working, or it wasn't working, and I have no idea why. And I'm not sure if it's OBS, to be honest. But I did restart OBS. But
let's be fair, you managed to go 110 minutes before technical difficulties. Honey Badger Radio starts with technical difficulties.
Well, I did start with a sort of technical difficulty too. Remember,
not only that, you only went 45 degrees off topic.
It's working again. It's working again.
I have to say, I think we've talked more on topic this stream than I've been in, because it's usually me responsible for not being on topic for a long time.
There is that. So, I will chat to you all later. Ludicrous said. I assume
it's
that
only
means
10 p.m.
he's leaving. Well, good night, Ludicrous.
Hi, Michael.
I hope to see you next time. Did Michael join us here?
Yeah, can't you see him?
Well, I haven't got the windows of Hangout open, do I? Well, I have it open, but it's behind the stream channel.
Well, so you might as well shut the stream.
That's what I'm going to do. Thank you all that joined us in the stream, watching the stream, and we're going to have an after party. Bye-bye.
I'll say when